Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. I'm Michiel Suchitrait. This is a place where we slow the pace and make room for conversations that reach beneath what we do, into who we are becoming. Together with aspiring, impact-driven female founders, we explore the turning points, the inner shifts, and the moments that quietly change the direction of a life. Sometimes carrying everything alone stops feeling like strength, and something deeper begins asking to be trusted instead. If that's where life happens to meet you today, you're in good company. What if courage isn't something we find before taking the first step? What if it grows because we choose to move, even while fear is still sitting beside us? In this episode, I sat down with Julie Taylor, founder of Buzz Business Networking, community builder, and someone who has learned that some of life's greatest transformations begin the moment we stop waiting to feel ready. We explored what it means to build genuine community in a world that often celebrates doing everything alone. How redundancy unexpectedly opened the door to entrepreneurship. And what it takes to start over in a new country. We also talked about asking for help. The life-changing perspective that followed her husband's sudden cardiac arrest. And why confidence so often arrives after we've already chosen to take the first leap. As Julie mentioned, be scared and do it anyway. And she reminded me, the answers are often closer than we think. Sometimes we just need the courage to ask. Listening to Julie's reminded me that next chapter rarely begins when fear disappears. More often it begins the moment we trust ourselves enough to take one small step, even with uncertainty still walking beside us. Let's get into it. Julie Taylor, welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, then let's right away jump into a time capsule, looking to the future, envisioning the future, and, who do you aspire to become?
There isn't particularly a person, but we've already talked about some amazing people that you work with, and the fact that I know them too, and you know, I hold them in high regard. So I'd probably just say somebody that's approachable, that can help. I regularly promise I don't have all the answers, but I generally know somebody who does. So if you leave something with me, I'll be thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, bam, I'll find the answer. So I'd probably just say that I was the go-to person to connect people. I think that'd be it. I'm not going to say I'm going to be Michelle Obama or anything like that, you know.
No,
or Oprah Winfrey or anything like that. But yeah, just an approachable person that can help if I can.
It's interesting because that right away pops up and makes a lot of questions about, okay, and where does that come from? But before we jump in, I would love to share with the audience and also for us, our Northern Star of this conversation. And that is, the central theme is scared and do it anyway. Mm-hmm. That's the central theme for today. But before we dive into the journey, where that all came from, what are you doing right now? What are you aiming for? Who are you helping? What is the impact you would love to see?
Yeah. So I'm a community builder. I'm bringing people together. So what I'm aiming to do is make everybody feel more connected. I mean, one of your wonderful previous guests, who's a great friend of mine as well, Vasya.
Yeah.
The whole anti-loneliness, the whole working on your own, being stuck, it just doesn't have to be that way. If you worked in a big company, you always have people to ask. So why not feel like you can connect in other ways? So for me, it's just making sure that there's that sort of ecosystem that people feel comfortable enough to reach out. So that's what I'm building just now. I don't know what the end state's going to be. And, you know, if I do decide to go on and do something else, I will hand it over to somebody with a good heart to make sure it goes the right direction. I'm not going to just set these people loose on the sea on their own. So that's important as well. I think even though I'm not necessarily involved day to day in what people are doing and their interactions, but I know that once you've created something, you can't just let it go. So, yeah.
What is the thought behind it, sort of the thesis behind it?
It's probably from me, because I didn't have all the answers. I don't necessarily think anybody's got the answer. Even the most I always say the most highly educated person straight out of a very amazing university doesn't have the network. People with a network don't have necessarily the education. Bless you. So I think it's that curiousness.
I had to sneeze twice.
You're going to do comedy sneezes through this,
and we don't edit, so
bless you.
Thanks.
So yeah, I think it's that whole, we need other people. We can't do it on our own. And probably even more so in this AI era, people think they can start their own business and, make money with AI, and they're thinking that's great. And what you're going to do with that money? How are you going to enjoy that money? You're gonna hang out with AI and spend money. Maybe you just go online and game with your friends in other countries. I'm not a gamer, as you can tell. It's not my thing. So I just think that whole, and I actually quite like to see it in the younger side that are quite self-reliant, that when I switch the light on and say, there's people over there, they're quite fun to hang out with. You can ask them anything in reason. And they're like, oh, actually, and even the really introverted people, because I know that's so difficult for them, is that it's the relief sometimes. That sounds a bit grand, but people even if they just take a break for a bit and hang out with somebody else. Because I always say as well, being with a business owner that's in a completely different industry, maybe different age, different culture, different background, different education, the whole thing, you can have such great relationships. Maybe you just end up with a coffee chat sort of scenario, but somebody that really challenges you if you want challenging. But I think I spotted on your site as well about accountability. How do we move forward on our own? We can just overthink it, polish it next week, next year, and just wait. And I don't know what we're waiting for, because time is a finite resource.
Yes, it is, and also irreversible, right? So
yeah, there's no time machines around here, not yet.
Memento mori. And you've mentioned. I'm curious about what is for you. Let's say what is your biggest concern when it comes to building relationships, forming relationships, nurturing relationships, and the very fast adoption of AI? Where do you see? Do you have a worry? I feel a little bit like we've reached the peak, a peak. I'm not saying it's the peak already, because I see that there's a lot of sort of offline events and things like that where people are wanting to lock their phones away and things like that. So I think the worry is that people that don't get involved with AI and learn a little bit about it, because it's not going away. There can be some fear around it. I mean, I remember sat there probably about 2 or 3 years ago with my husband and going, it's quite scary what it can do, because they were talking about, how it can infect computers and it can read all your emails. And I've heard of it recently, trying to blackmail people and stuff like that. And, we've heard of some really sad stories of people falling in love with AI or asking it questions and then taking really sad outcomes from it. So I think it needs a level, and hopefully the schools and the educators are putting some boundaries around it and saying, look, it's a tool, but it's not your life. So I think the worry is that it's the answer to everything. It's so biased as well. It is. There are people also, there are marriages, sort of fiction marriages with their AI something. Can you imagine?
No.
No.
Won't keep you warm at night.
No.
Everybody needs a hug.
For sure, for sure. Hey, if we look at the theme, scared and do it anyway, how far does that bring you back in your personal journey where that was for the first time challenged?
First time challenge, I mean, we touched on the redundancies. So, yeah, I mean, it obviously depends how old you are, what your family situation are and things like that. But it can really hurt and be really painful. And it can be quite scary as well, because if you're entering the job market and you've been in a comfy little zone for a while, and it can feel super personal and it can hurt. And also I see people sort of our age group that just feel like they're not going to get picked out of the crowd. And I'm just like, no, please don't. Unless somebody's specifically said that to you or you feel like that and you call them out on it, is focus on the positives, which is how much experience you've got and things like that. So I think being scared is the rug being pulled, because I always say that redundancy is sometimes the choice the push you wouldn't give yourself.
What did it do for you? What happened?
So it just snaps you out of this dream state of the 9-to-5 grind of, you get up, you do your thing, go to work. So it snaps you out of that. It can feel a bit strange if you're the only one out of a team or one team out of a big company. So for me, it's a bit of a wake-up call of you can be just sliding into decades of working for a company. So as we said when we had our first call, is I wouldn't be, whatever's good, bad, or indifference happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I like where I am today. So it's been a positive. I also went on a panel talk a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking all ex-corporate, and people were saying, oh, it was awful, and I had a terrible boss and all of that. And it's like, true, but it's made us who we are, whether we like it or not, because life doesn't go in one direction. And if it does, I'd just say watch out, because something's going to come and bite you on the butt sometime. So be prepared for being unprepared sometimes.
What is for you the biggest learning about yourself in those redundancies, dark periods? I guess.
I'd just say realizing I do have some skills, rather than it's just this tiny little job description, or the job I did but I wanted to do this job over here, or I could see a colleague making a real mess of something and they wouldn't let me help or something like that. Is it just lets you expand, and because you're not staying in one place, you don't have that fear about, oh, what's my manager going to think, or something like that. And I suppose it's I don't know, it's taking opportunities that wouldn't have been there, and it's not going to be comfortable. It's really not going to be comfortable. But that choice has been taken away from you, so you better crack on. Put your big girl pants on and off we go.
Easier said than done.
I've seen myself.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done. Sometimes, I don't like fake it till you make it. Be scared and do it anyway. Obviously you need, well, not obviously, but it helps if you've got somebody around you to support you, whether it's, a family member or a mentor or somebody you can seek out in another team. And I've done that in the sort of latter parts of my corporate career and said, am I going crazy? Or am I, being sidelined for this? Or am I, right in what I think about this? And they've gone, well, you've been a little bit stepping over a line a little bit, so you might want to bring it back in again. So if you've got a trusted confidant, I would definitely say look out those people, and it can be in a formal way or an informal way. Anybody you come across that you admire and respect, ask them.
Ask
because
what?
For help.
For help.
Yeah.
There's also one that is easier said than done. Why do you think we, as humanity, are having feeling a sort of challenge to ask for help. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because maybe I've got no shame, and maybe because it's my age, and maybe it's because I live in a foreign country. Is I say to people all the time is just ask. If you don't understand something, just ask. If you ring up the Belastingdienst and they don't speak English, you'll just say, "Speak English, please," or "I'll try another time." But unfortunately, life isn't easy. It's impossible to have all the answers, even with AI and Google at our fingertips. So asking for help is not a weakness, and actually can really challenge that other person as well.
True.
And anybody that will say, "What a stupid question," or something like that, you're not asking the right person. And we move on. And and in a way, that again isn't a pleasant situation, but they're not the right person for you. So tick, we'll cross them off the Christmas card list. So it's all learning. But living in a foreign country, how can I know how to navigate everything?
You say a foreign country. Where originally do you come from?
So I'm from the UK originally. Yeah.
And when did you decide to come to the Netherlands?
So we came here almost 8 years ago.
8 years.
For my husband's career.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else do you do in your mid-40s? I'd already got the shiny red car. I was having the midlife crisis. So. And then I had to leave it behind and get myself a child's bike because I'm so tiny.
Is there much difference for you living here than in the UK? It's so easy to say, yeah, there's a big difference, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm so lucky that English is widely spoken. I mean, that is absolute, apart from, the US and Australia and a couple of other countries, so lucky in that respect. Is it different? Yes, but good different. There's not many downsides at all. And when I'm here for long periods of time, I sort of forget that. And it's only when I get friends to come over. So I had my group of friends from Edinburgh come over last year, and they were like, "There's no potholes, no, not a lot of rubbish, not a lot of graffiti. In the city's fine. That's to be expected. Not a lot of homeless people. Feel safe." And we already talked about the sort of female networking groups I go to. It's only then talking to other cultures that I realised how lucky I was to live in a country where I felt quite safe to be certain bits of where I come from. I know the places not to go. But for some cultures still, they've come here and they're just not quite ready to realise that they can take a train at night. They're not going to be on their own in the carriage. And if they do, they can go sit next to somebody else. And I sort of forget how, my background is very similar to the Netherlands, whereas, people from other cultures, it's a real, they're not allowed to cycle and things like that. And so that brings it back to me, what a lucky sort of upbringing I've had. And now I'm in the Netherlands, green and flat, and I can cycle.
And I always have to get used to when I'm in the UK that I look, instead of left, I look right. And that's typical. That's
yes.
So it's right, left,
yeah.
Right, left, right,
walking.
instead
just
of left,
walking.
right, left, right.
But you have to do it 20 times here to watch the bikes.
Oh, that's true. That's
yes.
true. Let's go a little bit further back. So to the younger Julie.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and...
Yeah. Well, I was a bit of a cheeky one. I was like the naughty one that probably liked to sit at the back of the class. Not very gifted at school or sport or anything, but I give anything a good old try. I had a fun upbringing. I've got 2 older brothers. We used to do some crazy pastimes like go and chop trees down for friends of my dad's colleagues, and then that usually ended up with somebody in A&E.
Oh.
Not serious, but there was usually some mishap with a saw or something like that. It's quite expected. So, and we used to do quite a few things with like volunteering association and stuff like that, and get involved with that. So very active, doing lots of different things as a kid. So yeah, and that's when we used to be able to play outside without phones. And I just used to turn my watch back and say, "Oh, my watch must have stopped. I'm late to go to Granny's for tea. What a shame." So yeah, so those were the days. Yeah.
Is there something you would like from childhood you would like to see again in the current society?
Well, I think Dutch kids are basically kids here in the Netherlands are lucky because they do have some freedom. So I'd like to see a bit more of that, away from screens and things like that. So freedom to go out and play out until it got dark. That was time to go home. Yeah.
And always come in late. And
yes.
Always like, okay, the next time I will do better, but I didn't.
Yes.
Hey, we had there was a situation. Before we dive in, you have a banking background.
Yes.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
how did you end up in banking?
Well, I'm not an accountant and never really aspired to work in banking either. It was just, I lived in a small town. There was 2 companies to work for. One was a bank and one was an insurance company. The insurance company is not there anymore, and the bank's not really the same anymore. So I went away to university. I lived in France for a bit, and then I came home because I needed to find somewhere to live. Did a few temping jobs, and I ended up working at the bank because I'd met my partner already through a friend, and I was like, he's got better working terms than me, he's got more holidays, gets better pay. And it was just like, sometimes we resist following the herd, and sometimes we'll just go follow the herd and see what it's all about. So I'm glad I was there. It gave me a good grounding of, the 9 to 5 and what it involves and some structure. Because if I didn't have that, I do see some people that have left university and it's almost like they can't structure their day. And I get it, we're allowed as, if you're working on your own and you don't have a manager, is to, how do you feel? Do you like to do this in the day? And I'm like, that's great, but we're going to do some work today. Maybe we're not. Maybe we don't feel like doing some work, but have we got some deliverables we've promised? So I got background in project management, and for me, that really helps me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a bit tough on myself as well. Maybe.
I think we can cut it maybe.
But if we don't take some action every day, whatever it might be, then sometimes you can just let things go and see how they go, because not everything needs to be, tied up with a bow every day. That's true. But if there's something you've promised, whether it's to yourself or somebody else, and it's fine to say I can't do it for whatever reason, but don't leave it 5 minutes before the deadline. No, that doesn't help anybody. And also try not to do too many things at once. But I am a woman.
Meaning
we can be busy in an empty room. You've interviewed a lot of women. You should know this.
Oh yeah, but I never assume.
No,
I always.
Have you met any woman that can't be busy in an empty room?
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, I don't believe it.
I always keep an open mind. Let's say that. I don't believe
it. Yeah, we just want to fix things, and even if it was an empty room, we'd probably be studying it and thinking about what colour we could paint it, or we'd be sat there thinking about somebody else probably as well rather than ourselves. So yeah.
Fascinating. And then now entrepreneur. What came before entrepreneurship? What made you decide to jump into the entrepreneurship?
Well, when I first moved here, somebody approached me. We met through a Facebook group, and I started working for her, and then we decided to go into a partnership. And otherwise, I wouldn't have thought about doing it. I was a contractor before I moved here, which was a bit different and quite high pressured. So this was a little bit different. Every day is school day. And for somebody who's not really liked educate, I want to say liked education, but not being very good at it. So those people that are always studying or always reading a book or something like. But now I just can't stop. I don't have time to read a book. I don't have much time to watch TV. It's just always on, and I try not to read business books when I go to bed. Otherwise, I switch the work brain on and again, which is quite dangerous. So yeah, it's just opened a complete other world. And for me, it's not about money. And in a way, I'm lucky in a way because I'm of an age that I've got some money behind me. So it's not if I don't make so much this week, then I can't make my rent or anything like that. It still needs to work. I don't mean that. I'm not. It's not a vanity project, or otherwise I'll just open your window and throw some €50 notes out. So in a way, there's that extra. That probably doesn't help, because if it was a sort of life and death situation, then I probably wouldn't be here today because I'd probably still be working. And I'd be like, I'm too busy to go on a podcast.
So, but why are you doing then what you're doing? Why do you care?
Why do I care? What about my business? Because I love it. And I love connecting people, and I love seeing the light go on when people go, oh, it's not that difficult. And it was like, and I do say to people all the time, they put people on the moon. Whatever you're doing, I know you're stuck and you're struggling, and I might not be able to help you, but somebody somewhere has got the answer. They really do have the answer. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I start some projects and I'm like, oh, can I do this? And just something gets a little bit stuck, and it's slow down. And maybe I put it out into the world and nobody's interested or whatever. But then I always say to people, you put that project on the shelf and maybe it's just not for now. And then when you pick it up again, it's 75% done, and go, who wrote that? That's quite good. And not everything is for now. But if we don't know and go down these little alleyways, we'll never know. I did an entrepreneurship course about 2 years ago. Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. And one of the things that really sort of I found quite a painful statement, I don't even know whose it is. If you're not ashamed of your first launch, you launched too late.
Well, too late. Yeah.
That must be
I've
somebody
heard that.
really famous. Is it Steve Jobs or somebody? I don't know.
Nah.
And I was just like, oh, that's really quite a hurtful statement. But it's true, because you've just waited and polished, and then you might have missed those people that were around that wanted it, because you just had to make it so perfect. That I used to be a perfectionist. I'm not anymore.
What is for you the definition of perfectionist?
Is that absolutely nobody could say that's not right, that's wrong, that's the wrong colour, that doesn't work. That it is absolutely cast iron, nothing could go wrong. And I think working in banking during the banking crisis, it was going wrong. The company I worked for with 60,000 people nearly went bankrupt. So it was going down faster than the Titanic. And such a strange era as well, because whenever I went to a meeting, I tend to go by public transport anyway. If you ended up in a taxi, people would say, where are you going? I'll go so-and-so street. I wouldn't say the building. You wouldn't wear your pass. People were getting assaulted for being bankers. And I didn't break the bank. I was never that important to break the bank. And you just had to play this game with taxi drivers. So what do you do? I work in HR. Whereabouts? Just down that street down there. And it was just like some game of, I'm not going to tell you that I work for a bank. Because I didn't want a black eye on my way to work.
No, of course not. Who does?
And nobody deserves one either.
Yeah, that's. And what did it do? What did it do within you? Navigating that feeling.
I think it's that awareness of you're a small cog in a big machine, but maybe the big machine's not doing the right thing. And what can you influence? And actually, I was talking to two ladies yesterday, very different backgrounds, but ashamed of where they come from, which is just breaks my heart. And they were saying, we can't change what's going on in the world. And I don't mean that on a, let's just let the powers that be do everything. We do have a voice and things like that, but we can't necessarily stop wars and things like that. So all I'll say is it's an awareness of what I can influence and what I can't. So again, these people that are highly sensitive and, you know, can't read the news and everything's personal and hurts, I feel so sorry for them, because I'm like, what can you do? And I know you care. We all care about something, but do something small for somebody else. You know, look after your own work, but try and expand it a little bit further. Do good for others, pay it forward, all that sort of thing. But please don't have sleepless nights about things that you really can't change.
Can't influence.
And I can't tell somebody not to have a sleepless night, because they're going to have a sleepless night. So I do feel for those people. I really do.
I once heard a quote, and it was, worry about things worth worrying about. I thought that's an interesting one.
Yeah, true.
There's also a complete other situation in your life which had a severe impact on both of your lives. So, the life of your husband and of you. I'm really curious. Can we share that with the audience? What happened? And also, by that, it did something with you, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So 2 years ago, so it was on Ascension Day, one of the random public holidays on a Thursday, but there is a reason behind it. He actually woke me up. We'd been out for a meal, and he had a stupidly spicy meal, which is quite unusual in the Netherlands. We don't really do spicy food here, but he had some, which is Sichuan peppers in. He suffers with indigestion, but he said, this just can't get rid of this, and I just don't know what it is. So I said, well, it's a public holiday, I'll stay up with you and let's see what's what. And anyway, he collapsed in front of me, and it was the weirdest thing. And all I'll say is, to anybody out there that's not experienced somebody having a heart attack, it ain't like the films. There's, you don't necessarily feel like that. It can be quite different sensations. I know for women, it's in the jaw. And it doesn't feel like a... But then he started snoring really loudly. Really loud. I mean, it's a loud snore, but it was so weird. And he was face down on the bed at this point. I just didn't know what to do. So I rang the house arts. Yeah. Because I didn't know if he'd take me to the out of hours, because I've never rung emergency before. Dutch people will look at me in amazement when they say you didn't ring 112, and it was just like, no, because I've read so many posts about how much trouble you get in if it's not an emergency. I'm like, I don't know, I've not witnessed this before. I rang my friend who's an ICU nurse. She's British but lives here, and she says she doesn't normally take her phone to bed, so the fact she picked up was quite amazing. So she told me what to do, and her husband, who's a surgeon, rang the ambulance for me. And they were saying stuff like, you're getting out of breath now, go and open the door. And she said she could hear me going down. I was shouting and swearing. I woke their kids up as well, because obviously shouting and swearing is going to help while you're doing a bit of CPR and you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, I went down the stairs like a ton of elephants, because he said in the Netherlands they'll put your front door through when they arrive. I didn't hear the sirens at all. Luckily, we can see the top of the hospital from where we live. And they all came. Everybody came. You cannot get an ambulance in the UK. He wouldn't be here if we lived in the UK. The healthcare system's past on its knees. It's not even on its knees anymore in the UK. And I know that for for other people that have gone through it as well. So fire brigade, take him out of the window because we've got steep Dutch stairs.
Oh, wow.
I'd heard about that from a friend the week before, otherwise I wouldn't know what the hell was going on. 2 ambulances, police lady was very helpful. Get my stuff together, and then we went to the... So when I walked past to go downstairs, they put the machine on his chest, and I love all those hospital programs, not so much now. I know that if they've put the machine on, that means they've shocked him and not brought him back. So that's quite a... Mm-hmm. I rang my neighbour, and I woke her up. But I just thought I'd let her know what the noise is about. And bless her, she said in English, "What's happening, Julie?" That's the first thing she said. So I went in the second ambulance. I was telling them they weren't driving fast enough. And they said, "Oh, no, they're working on him." I was like, "No, there's a machine working on him. It's not a..." But I get it now. They have to stand up and look at the machine. I get that. But I was telling them, "You're not driving fast enough." And then, the family room, because in the UK, I think this is a thing... We might be such close countries, but things are so different. The family room means you're going to get bad news if you go in the family room. Nobody wants to go in the family room. That's serious. So I was like climbing the walls in there. And my friend that I'd rang, she drove straight down. She got a speeding ticket that she wouldn't let me pay for. And then I'm like, who do I ring? Because... it's like 5 a.m. or nearly 5:30 by then. So it's 4:30 in the UK. So it's like nobody's awake. And what am I telling them exactly? So it's just that whole... The responsibility is on me. I'm the grown-up now. So it was... I think when I said to you before, it was like I just kept saying, this is so unreal. It just didn't feel real. It's like you're outside your body. Yeah.
Is there something which surprised you about you in the moment?
I suppose surprise in a good way, because I can totally understand when people freeze. I didn't know how to do CPR. I actually pulled a muscle in my chest doing it. About, how the arms... I'm trained now. I did a course last summer now, and I feel more empowered. I'm like, let me out that CPR machine now. And it was just like, who's not looking very well? And it's like, honestly, I'd be straight in there. They'd probably end up with that machine on them, whether they needed it or not. I'd be like, you're not feeling very well. So... and I've seen it in other people when situations have happened and they just feel so flustered. And if you're not medically trained, you're like, I don't know what to do. But you've got to do something. You've got to do something. So it was 50 minutes before he breathed on his own. 50 minutes. 30 minutes can be too long. An hour is too long. And we never knew whether he'd have deficits. Day 2, they talked about, a brain test. So I went home. When I finally got his family to get on a plane, his mum wasn't really registering. And I had to say to my friend, what words am I not using? Screaming Banshee woman didn't come out that time. I saved that for when my father passed and my oldest brother was being a bit of a bit difficult, shall we say, that he got shouted at. But usually I'm quite a calm person. I'm not really one to get upset, shouty, sweary, so
it's not always about wanting.
Sometimes it's
so when we get emotional, then we get triggered, right?
Sometimes she just comes out. So she's quite scary. So she's only been out once. Don't really plan to get her out again. But I was saying to my friend, can you tell me what I'm not saying to my mother-in-law? And for somebody who's an ICU nurse, said that his family need to get on a plane now. And I was like, nearly like, but they didn't know her. So to hear that from somebody you don't know can be quite affronting. Like, who's this person telling me to do something? So we went home for about 4 hours sleep. If I had that, waiting to know that we were going to have a brain test the following day. And we all know that it's one way or the other, isn't it? It's not a sort of thing. So, yeah. Oops.
How's your husband doing?
Doing really well.
Glad to hear.
Yeah.
So we circle back to our theme of today. Scared and do it anyway. Also on your path as an entrepreneur, there are quite a few things on your that came on your path, which are an example of scared and do it anyway. Let's go through them. It's something with pitching. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one?
So, as part of this entrepreneurship course I went on, you could do a pitch at the end. Not something I've ever wanted to do. I'm not looking for an investor. I don't want to be on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or anything like that. But I just thought, I'm very much of, if I'm doing something, I really am doing something. So there was people saying, oh, I don't think I'm going to be ready, or I'm not going to be this, or I'm not going to be that. And I was just like, I'm doing this whether I want to do it or not. And we were coached through it and we get to practice. So the day came, and actually, I can't say what was a better thing was Richard, my husband, was actually away with his friend at a rock gig. And it was 1 year after his heart attack.
Oh.
So the fact he was away, because he went, I'm going to miss it. And I was like, actually, I think he might have made me a little bit more nervous if he was in the audience. Just because I want to make sure it was really good. So actually, the fact he wasn't there was actually better.
A little bit kicking in, right?
It could be. So I was sat waiting for my spot. Luckily, I wasn't the last. To be the last picture must be awful. First picture would be awful. But at least it's done. But the last one, oh my God, those poor women. And it was, and my Apple Watch kept going off saying, oh, your heart rate's quite high. I was like, I'm sat down. I was just like, this is not good. And there was a competitor in the room. And I'd already gone and said hello to him because I knew who he was. Because I'm not going to shy away from, he probably didn't know who I was, but I was going to go and say hi. Some people come along to support me, to watch me as well. I was like, so yeah, got up and I did it. Thank God for that. So one of my members did a TEDx talk recently, and she's so good at speaking. And I said, if I could give one bit of advice, if she wanted advice, is just envisage yourself wherever you like to be, whether it's sat on your sofa the following evening. Because normality will come back. Nobody will die in that situation. And then you go, I've done it now. What's next? So I'm glad I did it. Not sure I would do it again, but I don't really feel the need to. I like to go to pitching events though, because I like to see people's excitement and things like that, and how they formulate the story. And I took a risk as well. I asked for something that I probably wouldn't get because I just like taking the harder road. I just.
You can see that. Hey, and when are we going to see you on stage for a TED Talk? And if so, what would be the topic?
What would be the topic? I don't know. It'd be something about you can do it anyway. Nobody can say you can't do that. Nobody. Yeah. I don't have any plans to. I'm not a big fan of TED Talks. I've got somebody's got to say, you've got to watch this one. It's a really good one. Because of the formula, my brain can switch off after a little bit and go, it's very, again, if somebody's got quite a singy-songy voice, I'm just like, this is really relaxing, but I'm not paying attention. So it's not my...
What makes you pay attention? What are certain topics or talks which really grabs your attention?
I think when we spoke about people being on the spectrum and things like that. I must have the attention deficit disorder that I'm not aware of. People getting to the point, or saying that up front, and then let's find the story to it. I can't be dealing with long drawn out, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this is what I really try and help people in my group with, is just tell us one story in 1 minute.
One story,
one
minute,
story, 1 minute.
word.
Please just get to the point. Because we've all had interesting lives and lived in other countries and met interesting people, but we can only just find out. We're going to find out more about you, and I'm quite, again, didn't know this, multi-passionate, and those multi-passionate people, wow, they've got so much in their armoury, and it's like, just tell us one thing. And I always say, listen to what the other people said. What do they need, and can you help them? Because that proves you're listening, as rather than just reading it off well, I've done this, this, and this, and it's just
ticking
like
off the boxes. Nobody takes note.
And there's a way of, and I think that's the thing with the TED Talks is it's formulaic. It's not off the cuff. Nothing ever goes a little bit awry, and in a way, it doesn't feel that human.
It's too much fabricated.
Yes, it's too polished. And I try and get people to show up on video and things like that. I did a challenge last year. Is we're not reading the news. We're not. We never said we were news readers.
We're not on the out queue.
Yeah. So just do it. Or the other alternative is not do it.
Speaking about auto cue.
Yes.
Something pops up. Something with becoming a live television host. What was that all about?
That's Newton's fault, is that?
Oh, is that?
Yes.
Yeah? Oh, tell me.
Yeah. So,
Newton Manohar.
Yes.
Yeah.
My lovely,
amazing guest.
My lovely, lovely friend.
Oh.
So, she asked me to go on her TV panel end of last year, and she picked the political one, and I was like, nope, that's not me. I can talk about many subjects, and as an entrepreneur, wing it, but no, thank you. It's not my bag. So then I went on as a guest for Dutch Winters, but again, I'm from a country not far away. We've got a good range of winter coats as well, so it's more for the people from warmer countries having that culture shock and that whole, oh, this is so cold and all that. Anyway, so I experienced that, and then the company asked me if I'd like to have my own show. I was like, so excited. I just said yes before I even given it much thought, because again, entrepreneurship, sometimes we just say yes and figure it out afterwards. Yeah. So I put together my panel. We spoke about the hidden side of entrepreneurship.
Hidden side.
The hidden side, yeah. And I think because it was run by Dutch people, but it's no longer going, unfortunately, Expatarians. So it's about expats and their experience. They were quite shocked when I talked about we don't get much, I don't think enough, support from the Kavikar, Avio. I know people in the Kavikar and Avio. And they said, well, shall I get one of them on the panel? I said, they won't come, they're not allowed. And talked about situations where I've been for funding and got a flat no locked door in my face, and where Dutch people have been that I know have had that funding and said, oh no, you need to go and present. I was like, they don't want me to go and present, and I know where that funding is now, and it's not for me. But I'm believing karma. Things will, like we said about the half finished project, that'll come around another time. And also the fact that I know who they are, they might not know who I am, and it's like, so okay, I've got your number, we're good. And so I put my panel together. I went for a little training session, and I was like, wow, I thought it was just turn up and talk, but there's, autocue looking at that camera, the times and all this, that's quite intense. And it was live, so it wasn't recorded and edited. And then I had quite a sleepless night, but I picked one of the guests up on the way, and she said to me, remember, Julie, you're just talking to friends. Because I picked each of them. So I said to them, whatever I do, if I ask a question, and I come round and I've missed one of you, please don't think I've missed you on purpose. Do say, oh, and I'd like to, because it's not intentional, because I'm just like watching all this, watching that.
Yeah.
And I had somebody the like floor manager pulling face, and I'm like, I don't know we didn't discuss what these hand gestures meant. And because I'm all about time management, we almost finished early. So then I had to ad-lib at the end, and then the titles came up, and it was all a bit... Because then he said to me afterwards, we could have finished early if you want, but I didn't know that. Because he was like...
You were like really on a time schedule.
Yeah,
and then...
we didn't have an auto cue, so I was having to use my notes on my iPad, and you could see that on the TV, but I was like, don't really care, and it's like...
Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it was so much fun. It was... I don't know what it was. It was exciting, challenging. I don't know. It's just so much fun. And a subject I'm passionate about with the right people that I've got a really good click with.
What would be, if you can choose any topic you want to choose, what would be a topic you would love to choose, and why?
I'd probably say it was either about human connection, but again, it's more the subject I'm curious in, but I get the experts in, I get a psychologist in, and I get somebody, and it'd be for me to just facilitate the room, because that's what I do. I'm not an expert in that, so I'm super curious about that, and also how men network and how women network. And there was a bit of a conversation about that end of last year.
Are there differences?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah? Tell me.
I'm so surprised / disappointed. That sounds terrible. So my group is male, female, everybody's welcome. And I collaborate with a guy in the UK. I have more women in my network. He has more men in his network. And I was really glad when I went to his summit in Glasgow last year, and some of my members came with me, that one person, male, brought up this conversation. I thought, this is great, because I've always wanted to know. And we came to the conclusion it's not scientific, because it's just a group of people chatting. For men, it's about ego. Because I didn't realise when they network, not necessarily everybody, but they tend to stand next to each other quite often. And, they sort of look around the room, and apparently this is a thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to need to look out for this a bit more. And for women, it's confidence.
What do you mean? What do you mean
They're
by confidence?
looking for confidence. They want more. They're searching for confidence. They're trying to get bolstered with confidence.
Let's before we move on.
Yeah.
It's so easy to jump into an assumption that we have the same understanding of the word confidence.
Yeah.
What do you believe? What for you is the definition of confidence?
Confident. How do we define it? I would say it's believing in yourself, having a voice, being able to communicate. It's so many things.
Okay, but that makes it already in and of itself a little bit more understandable that where are women then looking for someone who can really speak out, speak up, articulate, engage, be open, communicative.
Yeah.
Communicative?
Yes.
Communicative. I struggle a little bit with that word. So that a voice in the room.
Yes, I think women struggle with that. It's she's showing off, she's this, she's that, and they seem to have this, whether it's their own voice in their head or this view that what people are saying about them, and I think when you get to a certain age or experience a few things, is like, do you care? Do you know it's true? I think Vasya would call it the inner critic. It's that whole, is it true though? Has anybody actually said that to you? You're showing off.
Or do you think it's true?
Yeah. Now, I would say as a woman, I have heard that. And I've probably been told that as a kid. Not a lot. Not enough to make an impact. But there does seem to be different ways of women being assertive or viewed in a certain way, and men being assertive is just how men are. And that's such a sweeping generalisation, and it's so sad it's still there. But I'm not in those circles, so it doesn't really affect me anymore. And I think people are really put off by their experiences, and I totally understand that. Because if they've had a bad experience, why would they go and repeat it again? I totally understand that. And then we've got all these other challenges about, speaking in not your native tongue, your culture, your background. You might be from a background where you can't shake hands. All this stuff, highly sensitive. It's a lot. It is a lot. But all I'll say is, there's going to be a lot. And being an entrepreneur, you're putting another level of a lot on top. So you better buckle up and be ready for it. And sometimes it's not for people. And we can all retreat in our shell, no matter how positive and energetic. And we all have our flat moments.
Of course.
And that's allowed as well, because if we didn't have that, we'd think we might be taking some drugs or something like that.
But of course we do have that. And yesterday was a beautiful, amazing event of a friend of mine, Marie Chaperonnière from Behind the Mask, and it was beautiful. And there were amazing talks and poet, and was really. And I love to be surrounded with a lot of friends of mine. Were there, but at that moment I didn't feel like, okay, I should stay and mingle and connect, and then it's also okay to withdraw, right? So when the talks ended, it was for me okay, and then just go. And but I see what I'm noticing at beautiful events is that there's always a few people really struggling to make that first sort of move, reaching out, standing in their own. And I always love to, have a conversation with them and like, hey, what brings you here? And do you think of the XYZ? Or how was your day? And just helping and easing a little bit the tension.
Yes.
And
And, I give people tips about going is it's okay to go to a networking event with a friend, but don't spend the whole time with them.
No.
Don't sit next to them.
No.
You can eyeball each other or have a little sign that just says, I need to go. And there's ways of preparing yourself for whatever it is, whatever event, whatever meeting, whatever course it is. Because if you just think about the thing you've not been to yet, but how you prepare yourself for daily life, it's not that much difference. In the Netherlands, the trains are really good, but you might want to go on the train before and check both weather apps, not just one. And it's all those sort of things, and don't wear brand new clothes that you had in your wardrobe for 12 months, because as my previous boss said, you might shrunk in the wardrobe and cut yourself in half. It's all about feeling comfortable. But I also say as well, but this is me because I'm a little bit formal because I'm in the UK, is dress a little bit over what you think you might be, because if you turn up in clothes that you might do your gardening in and everybody's wearing nice shirts and chinos, you might feel a bit
out of tone.
Yeah, you might feel like you're standing out for a reason it wasn't what you planned for. So
another thing we touch upon, starting a business in a country that wasn't your own. How did that challenge you?
There's no end of challenges because nothing's familiar, is it? The only thing that's familiar and is very lucky here is English widely spoken. But I have been to a Dutch networking event. That was quite intense. I did that last summer. I wouldn't necessarily go back because it was a particular format and nobody actually got in touch with me. I reached out to all of them, and I actually went back to the group leader because I know her quite well, and I said none of them came back to me. Oh, we can't make them do it. I was like, yeah, but why would I want to go back? Even if it was like, thanks for that link that you sent to me. So strange, very strange. But anyway, but if it's a new thing, is entrepreneurship, why not do it somewhere new as well? Why the hell not? Why make it as shiny, sparkly, as new as it can possibly be? But once you find your people, like Newton, like the female groups and things like that, you are not the only person on your own. And also, you're not the only person in your industry. And it's a small country. So just make allies and just go and introduce yourself and go say hi, because we're not going to pretend that we don't exist. And I just don't see competition. It's hard sometimes when something's released and it looks just like yours, and you just, good luck with that, because you're not me. And maybe you're better at that thing than I am.
You know how many podcasts there are? So,
one or two, a couple of hundred.
Yeah, but there's so much. And
yes.
You know, in the end, it's all about, I think, I get a lot of questions like, Michiel, but what makes your podcast different? And it's, for me, a difficult question because, honestly, I don't know. It's more about the guests and the personal journeys, I guess, which makes it different. And when it comes to your community and where you're aiming for, what is for you the distinction from your biggest, unique point of your proposition?
Oh God, that's such a good question. I'm probably going to say, because somebody said it to me recently, is it's so real and we're connecting as humans, and it's so an entrepreneurship's so messy. From an ex-perfectionist, when you think you're going to do one thing one day, it just gets thrown out of the window if your tech doesn't work or something. Like, I'll go and do something else instead. So for me, what makes mine different is we're real people. We're not necessarily trying to sell to each other. I'm going to tell you what I do, but then I'm going to say, and what do you do? And why did you start? And it's not about taking all the oxygen out of the room. It's not about, and again, I see it with the newer entrepreneurs or people from different cultures, killing us with the TLAs, the 3-letter acronyms. And it was like, maybe I'm not your ideal client because I don't know what you're talking about. And make people feeling important. Unfortunately, in my world, if somebody says fractional, my eyes start glazing over, because I just think, that's not for me. And I don't have any clients that would be looking for a fractional whatever they
XYZ.
Are. Just say 3 letters straight after it, and you've totally lost me. So I just say is be real, be honest also, if things are just gone a bit messy or not to plan. Yeah, I just say it's a support network, because actually somebody said that to me a year or two ago, and I was like, oh, and I wasn't offended. I was like, it wasn't intentional, but in a way it's a good thing. It was never meant for that. It was business networking, and my sessions are quite formal, but I do want to have a bit of fun.
Of course.
It's almost like my 2 hours are really intense, but I want people to get, the value out of it. But apart from that, we'll go and have lunch afterwards, and we'll go and just talk about absolutely anything within reason.
Well, and also, which I came to believe, and also when I was doing a little bit of research about you and about what you're doing, for me, a sort of line, and also in our previous conversation bubbles up, that it's about building a community where people feel safe enough to ask for help.
Yeah, true.
And that's I think you always see, also if I close my eyes and look at the beautiful, very safe, very nice environment of a friend of mine, he is Hatch, and it's an agency, and now they have a beautiful new office, and Behind the Mask was organized, one of the first events organized now there in the new office, and it was really safe. It was all the setup, the whole atmospherics, and yet asking questions from the audience, we look to each other. And we're like, yeah, I want to ask something, but
Yeah.
You know that feeling? And,
yeah, I do.
And I'm always like, almost like, go, ask that question. And what are some sort of tips if you really feel you want to ask something, but you feel the tension inside of you building up, and then you slightly start to think, okay, maybe I'm not. What?
I've sometimes not asked questions, but because I've realised it wasn't the appropriate forum. So that's fine, and you can go and speak to the speakers afterwards. So if you don't feel like...
En plein public.
If you do feel like your question is slightly off topic, or you picked one bit of it and you just felt very passionate about it, but you think nobody else is going to... You can go and speak to that person afterwards and do that. Don't think, oh, I'm going to scuttle away and send them an email. Oh, I won't send them an email because they won't know who I am. I'd see how you feel in the room, because people should make it a safe space. And I think you will know if people are just posturing and people are like, I'm just going to say... We used to have it in corporate because people would ask a question, but it wasn't a question. It was the same words, just turned the other way. And people would be going, you've just put some words in, is that a question? And I've actually seen it where the person being asked to, sorry, was that, did you want to ask? But not in a horrible way. But just like, because people were actually told in corporate, always say something, always put your hand up. And it was like, but they had nothing to say, and it was nothing. So I think there's that pressure from some words that don't mean anything to something that feels very meaningful to you, but you feel like it might not to the room. You can deal with it in other ways. But I would say try it though. The other thing is, if you have gone with somebody, is say, I was thinking about asking, just do it. Whereas they'll go, I don't think they meant that. And then you can go and speak to the speaker and said, I really thought you meant this. And they'll go, oh my God, I didn't realise you meant, it wasn't intended. So I think you'll know. But if you feel it enough, just do it. Because you'll get remembered, even if you might not have been the only person that totally misconstrued that. You may well not. And other people going, I wish I'd asked the question.
Yeah, afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, the Jerry Springer.
Yeah. There was one line in our previous conversation, and it really resonated. Mm-hmm. And it is, you don't become confident first and then act. You act, connect, ask for help, and confidence grows afterwards. Where does that belief come from?
Because I've said before, is some things happen to you. Mm-hmm. They're not your choice. You get knocked down by a car outside while you're on your bike, trip down some stairs, whatever it could be, good, bad, or indifferent. So, therefore, you need to take some action. You don't cause accidents. What I mean is, if you don't take any action, what's going to happen? You can't be accidentally found just because you created your website. Unless you've got the best SEO, best website, the most unique offering. People need to know you. And especially as a single person business owner, they need to hear you, see you. If you've got somebody else, whether it's AI or a copywriter, writing words that you would never say, that's just strange. And it gives off that air of being disingenuous. It's just, you're fake. You're not real. So I think it's Oscar Wilde. I'm not really into sayings. I'm definitely not into live, laugh, love, whatever that one is. But be yourself because everybody else is taken. That one right at the beginning meant a lot to me. We're not all the same. And I think I mean, it's different in the UK because we wear school uniform, whereas here they don't. So you want to look a certain way. You want to have the designer trainers. Whereas the older you get, the more you expand. And the weirdness, just let the weirdness out. Because it's interesting. Otherwise, we're so boring. And we only get one life. Unless you're a cat.
Well, unless you believe that.
Oh, sorry, yeah, there is the afterlife. Is that the After Hours podcast we're going to do? Yeah.
I would love to end our podcast conversation with an invitation to the future, your future desired members to get on board. What is your message to them? In what kind of stage challenges are they facing? And why should they join?
Okay. You're not alone. There's no way you can know everything. I don't mean that in a bad way, but the more people you invite into your world, the more perspective you're going to get, the more answers you're going to get. Help is there. You just need to ask. People can't guess what's in your head. The option, yeah. I think I'll go back to the fact we can put people on the moon. So whatever you're doing, there must be an answer. You just need to find the right person, and we will endeavour to find that answer for you. Entrepreneurship is a hell of a hard. It is hard work, and it's hard to keep your energy up and your positivity. And if you get a no or a door slammed in your face, so having people around you to commiserate with, to support you, to mentor you. Just think where you're going to go if you get involved.
Wow, Julie, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Perhaps something from this conversation is still settling. A perspective, a feeling, or a question that arrived without asking permission. That's often how meaningful change begins. Stories have a way of traveling beyond the moment they are told, finding their way into conversations, decisions, and chapters still unfolding. If someone comes to mind whose path feels emotion, pass this episode on. And if the desire for more clarity, direction, and alignment has been quietly growing in the background, there's a space called the Clarity Intensified track, an open door for those moments when reflection starts asking to become movement. Until next time, take this with you gently and see what stays with you.